Hello, beautiful friends. Welcome to the first video on my channel. Hi there. My name is Natalie, and this is Nat's Chat. So let me give you a little bit of an intro to what this is so you can see if this is the right channel for you. So I am somebody who's super into self-development and psychology and all that jazz, but I struggle with ADHD. I love podcasts, but I can't watch things. So I listen to podcasts religiously while playing games. So I got the idea. Maybe other people are kind of the same way. So if you're somebody who loves to listen to podcasts, you love learning about self-development, you love just kind of listening to people talk about different topics as well, and you like games, you like watching speed builds, you like visual things being pretty and put together, then this will be the channel for you. Okay, so I really want to kind of call this Nat's Chats podcast, kind of like in a podcast form, but with the visuals of gaming. So let's jump straight into our first topic. Again, this is going to be pretty casual, and if there's anything that, you're interested in hearing about or learning more about or whatever the case is. So of course here I'm going to say please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. It definitely helps me a lot. I'm still figuring out, a schedule and a cadence, but this is something that, I've always enjoyed doing. I love building and creating. So some other games that you'll see come to this channel is The Sims, Planet Zoo, Planet Coaster, tycoon type of building creative games. So if you have any suggestions as well, let me know. All right, so today's topic is all about making space, okay? I'm sure you heard people say that you want to be in a state of flow, because being in a state of flow allows you to make better decisions, to figure out what's best for you, to see things more clearly. So many people, especially in the self-development space, talk a lot about flowing, right? And just kind of going with the flow. Now, I'm very against hustle culture. I was once very involved in it myself as someone who is pretty ambitious. I definitely followed that, but I've been learning over the past year or so that it's just not a healthy way to live. It's just not the best way to live. So I've had to learn to kind of reprogram my mindset around hustling and learn to be more in a state of flow. And trust me, I'm not perfect at it. I'm just really learning how to really integrate it into every choice that I make, into just really everything in my life. But in order to really be in a state of flow, you have to have space available. And that's kind of what is so important about flowing is you can't be in a state of flow if you have anxiety, in the sense of if you're worrying about, things that are happening in your day-to-day, you're taking up a lot of your emotional space, probably your energetic space, intellectual space. There's really 4 categories that, I identify for me that are really important for kind of assessing where I have space available. So that's mental is the first one. So, that would be if I am just so in my head, I don't have any mental space to do new projects, to try to accomplish, really heavy thinking tasks. I don't have a lot of space to do my best. I will definitely half-ass it if I don't have mental space. And it doesn't come to just doing tasks. It can come to really anything. If you don't have mental space and you feel like your brain is just so full of thoughts and anxiety and fear and planning and all of that, then you're not really seeing what is happening in the moment, right? You're too focused on either the past or the future. So mental space is important. The second one is emotional space. And, obviously this is emotional. If you feel like you are just so emotionally overwhelmed by something in your life, then it's hard to have connections with people. It's hard to keep your emotions, I guess, in a stable place for you, however that is for you, right? Like, it's hard to be present to what your emotions are really going through at that moment, right? So if you don't have emotional space, then you're not really able to be like, hey, why am I feeling sad? Why am I feeling mad? Why am I feeling happy? Because in reality, all of those emotions are completely acceptable, completely amazing, and part of just being a human. And so you want emotional space because you want to be able to feel those emotions, right? You want to be able to assess, okay, why am I feeling sad? Oh, I'm feeling sad because I feel rejected. And, being rejected kind of triggers how I used to feel as a kid when my mom used to reject me, or whatever it is, but everything has a root. And so having, the awareness, having that space available allows you to be present with what the real issue is. And then the third, way I make space is energetically. And this is kind of, as an introvert, my energy gets drained very fast, very easily, especially because I feel like being in quarantine, I'm sure a ton of you can relate who are introverts out there. It's made my introversion worse. In the sense that I just feel like such a hermit. But you know what? Like, I am not complaining too much because I do like being a hermit. That's how I make a lot of energetic space. And for me, if I feel refreshed and don't feel depleted energetically, then that can do a lot for me. I can really make choices and I can push my will forward to actually do something because I have kind of the energetic space, right? So we're talking about like physical energy as well as just kind of how you feel, and even, more on that level of, okay, yeah, what's affecting my energy right now, physically and energetically. And so it's really just kind of assessing, if your energy is being depleted by people, then you have to create boundaries and you have to do things to make sure you're taking care of you. And then the last one is physical space. And this is, your physical environment. If you live in a place that's too cluttered, or you don't, keep your space clear for you, or whatever it is, it's just about, if you don't have the physical space, that can actually block basically every other area. It will block you from not having space mentally because your mind feels cluttered, if your physical space feels cluttered. But really all of these areas can affect each other. So, now that those are the 4 areas, I just want to kind of say that you don't need to always, have space available in each area. That's completely exhausting. And it's just about being aware of, okay, if you're trying to make space, how do you do that now, right? And that is about being kind of in that state of flow, being in a state of not trying to control, not trying to micromanage, not trying to have an expectation of how things should go or how things should be, and just kind of flowing with what happens exactly in the moment. Now, I am a huge planner. I am ambitious. And so it is important for me to have goals, to have a framework, to have something that I am, going after that kind of serves as that catalyst almost, right? Because I can't completely be like, well, let's just see what happens with my life. I'm completely fine with that. And some people are, and that's okay. But you just have to identify what your balance of flow and practicality is, okay? And that is part of the awareness of looking at yourself and being like, okay, where do I have the most space available right now? Think about those 4 areas: emotional, mental, energetic, and physical space. Okay, think about, where do I feel, the most content when it comes to all 4 of those areas. And so once you identify where you have the most space available, then you can identify where you don't have space available, right? I don't have space mentally, but I have I have a little bit more space emotionally available. And then once you kind of identify these different, areas that you don't have as much space available, you'll be able to actually bring your awareness to saying, okay, I'm going to take maybe the space that I have in my mental and kind of use my will, right? Use my actions and my choices to kind of bring some of that energy over to the emotional side, right? I know it can sound pretty confusing, but our brains and your internal knowing, right, is so powerful that when you're completely present and aware and you're working with your unconscious and you're just bringing a lot more awareness and you're watching for when you don't have space available, it benefits you entirely. And not only you, but everybody, because when you have more space and you're present and you're aware to where you need to either replenish your space or do whatever you need to do to take care of it, then everybody benefits. So some other ways that I kind of make space too is you just want to identify where the space is, right? Like where you need to make the improvements. And then you can kind of bring the awareness to, like, for example, the space that I've been working on in my personal life lately is specifically my emotional space. I've been making more emotional space by doing healing work, by kind of looking at some of the things, I've lost some friendships over the past year and a relationship, and then isolation and just a lot kind of happened emotionally where I felt like I was putting up walls, right? I was putting up protection barriers because I didn't want to get hurt by a friend again. I didn't want to get hurt by a relationship again. I felt so abandoned, right? So, working through those emotions and coming to the realization, that left my life for the reason of it's time for me to open myself up to new things, right? And so you have to kind of go to the healing of the root first. And once you kind of do that, you're kind of just going to be able to bring awareness. I really want to preface, though, that this doesn't work linearly. I feel like as humans, when we're working on ourselves and just working with our brain and our unconscious, we automatically want to think, I have to do this first, and then this will work, and then this will happen. And that's just not how it works. So I'm telling you that when you kind of identify maybe something you need to heal to make space, it's not like you have to take the years to heal or the months to heal, and then you get the space available. As you're chipping away the healing, right? And as you're chipping away those pieces, the space will be created little by little by little, and you may not even notice it. But eventually you are going to just start feeling better, right? You're going to start to feel like, okay, I just feel like I can take on more, or I'm ready for something new, right? And I think that's just part of always having the awareness of being where you can always just be aware of where you're at, right? I think it can also prevent future trauma and future kind of pains as well. If you're present to what you're going through in the moment, you can kind of cater to that need, and then it passes by a lot faster, allowing you to be in that state of flow. Does that make sense? I know it can kind of feel like a complicated process, but I promise from personal experience and from my experience of all the research and the reading and all the involvement that I do with this type of stuff, that it will make a difference in the way that you're like, wow, you kind of learn yourself in a different way. I just feel like this is something I never knew about until really recently, where I was like, oh, so the key to flowing and the key to not being in hustle culture is to make space, is to look inward and be like, so how do I need to take care of myself? What a shocker. Because we have been so conditioned not to care about our own needs, not to look inward, not to do what we need to do to care for ourselves. Some of us feel guilty, myself included. I used to. I've worked through that, because you don't need to feel guilty for taking care of yourself, okay? So I know how that feels if you feel guilt around being like, okay, I need to take some time to replenish my energy, to do some healing. And don't feel guilty. Don't let anyone tell you how or what you should do. You know, you really just need to follow what feels right to you. So maybe this doesn't resonate. That's fine. That's totally good. This is just what I've learned. So if this doesn't feel like it's going to be good for you, that's okay. But if you are interested, I definitely recommend, you know, really just thinking about that. Just kind of starting with the first step of just assessing those 4 categories and thinking about how you feel. If you feel content or if you feel overwhelmed. The way that you can know if you're really overwhelmed is if if thoughts of fear or anxiety or living in the past or present are in front of you, right? If those things are tied to fear mindsets, tied to not feeling in a state of flow, and then it just shuts you off to feeling, and it kind of shuts you off to experiencing the present moment. And I know, you know, so many people are like, oh my gosh, you have to live in the present moment, but it's like, it really is important, especially as we're transitioning as a society to a higher level of consciousness, which we are, right? As we're bringing awareness to all of these different inclusion issues and just acting as humans for once, instead of being so competitive and kind of more in that animalistic biological energies. We're kind of starting now to get to that point where we're raising our consciousness and starting to change the way that we see things, right? And the way that we react. And so the more that we go inward and the more that we make this space and the more that we honor ourselves, the more other people actually benefit from that. And that's what you can kind of call that collective, you know, consciousness. What I do affects you. What you do affects me. And it's completely true. So, yeah, I know this can kind of feel like a lot, but I would definitely love to hear, you know, some of your guys' thoughts down below on maybe what's worked for you or how you stay in this state of flow, how you make space, how do you assess what you need in the moment? Do you have troubles, you know, being in the moment? If so, how do you deal with that? This is, a very interactive space, and, you know, I am someone who wants to share ideas, someone who wants to share perspectives, and again, if you don't agree with me and you don't resonate, I think the beautiful thing is that we all do get to share different perspectives and different ideas. So yeah, you know, definitely feel free to share your thoughts and your experiences, because that's what's beautiful, is we can all learn and take from each other. So yeah, I'm currently enrolled in a psychosynthesis program. It's a type of psychology. So as I'm learning these different things, I'm going to bring that knowledge and conversation to you guys, right? And kind of see, okay, how can we use this? Or what are your guys' thoughts? This is super casual and really just collaborative. So yeah, this is the first episode. So let me know what you think. If you have any suggestions of topics you'd like me to dig into or talk about, or even games too that you'd like to see visually. But yeah, welcome to Nat's Chats, and I hope that you stay and join this community and like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one.